The power to define. This whole chapter we've been discussing and doing introspection on the concept of the power to define, what it is, what does it mean, and we've pretty much laid out the importance of the power to define. But now what we want to do, we want to understand exactly how did this struggle for the power to define all begin. Because in the Genesis, we had the ability and the power to possess what we refer to as the Yo mind, which gives us the perception, the consciousness of the creator, where we can discern right from wrong, we can discern what's good, what's not good, what functions, what doesn't function. So we can maintain our existence perpetually. But at a certain point, when we turn our backs on the creator, we lost that connection. We lost the ability to properly define for ourselves. But how did that come about? So we're going to take that journey, and we want to begin in the book of Daniel in chapter 7, verse 25. And the book of Daniel is a very profound writing. He's a very profound prophet of yore. And we know, we've gone over this in the class before, Daniel has the ability to interpret dreams divinely. He had this insight to hear dreams, meditate on and get wisdom from yore, and then reinterpret the dream accurately. And he did that with Nebuchadnezzar, who was the king of Babylon at the time. And because of his ability to possess that level of insight and wisdom, he elevated him within his ranks and political stature in Babylon at that time. But Daniel continued to have visions of his own. So we're going to go ahead and read this specific scripture based on this vision that he had. This is verse 25 in chapter 7. Reads on this wise: and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they should be given into his hand until a time and time and a dividing of time. So this is a vision that Daniel had, that at a certain point in Israel's future, there will come a time when the saints of yore, sons and daughters of yore, the Hebrew Israelites, they would no longer possess the ability to discern/define the times. Okay. And, he foresaw individuals that would rise up, and they would essentially stand against yore. And not only would they stand against yore, they would speak blasphemous words against yore. And by doing so, they would seek to wear out the saints of the Most High. And afterwards, at that point, they would put themselves in a position where they would attempt to change the times and the laws and the ability for us to discern, spiritually what time it is, and then literally what time it is with our people and with our relationship with the Creator. And that power will be given, like it said, the adversaries of yore. And this is something that's coming from the Creator himself. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and read this portion, and then we're going to shift to an actual live presentation of the Father breaking down the scripture. It says, he, in verse 25, spiritually and prophetically engulfs the entire structure of Euro-Gentile authority, the power which speaks against yore. As a matter of fact, they represent the coming of the anti-God dominion over yore's creation and people. The entire purpose of European authority has been to challenge yore, destroy his people and earth, to accomplish their portion of this mission. The power to define was given into the hands of the adversaries of yore. And in parentheses, it says, think to change times and laws, and they should be given into his hand. Okay. So at a certain point, yore and this prophetic wisdom would see that it was a need for another people who were confederate against y'all, to come up and say, you know what, we want to use these individuals to take a stand to chastise the children of York because, and we've gone over this before, of their willful disobedience to York. Ever since the Genesis, we turned our backs on York, we've been wishy-washy with the Creator. And we've been aligning with his will, following his laws. At a certain point, after that messianic leader steps up and gives us the proper direction, and they make transition, somebody else comes into power, then all of a sudden we would eventually, after a few generations, fall away. And we would pine after the other nations and their gods and want to be like them. And this cycle just continue on over and over again. So Yah said, okay, it's time to chastise the children of York, because if they won't hear, then they have to feel, essentially. So this power was given unto the adversaries of York. And the adversaries of York, within them, were motivated to want to challenge the authority of not only the sons and daughters of York, but of York himself. And this significant turn of events is something that was, of course, like I mentioned, was prophesied by Daniel. It was also prophesied by many other inspired prophets and messianic personages. So what we want to do, I want to, actually play a clip of the Father, breaking down this shift in power from the sons and daughters of York to the adversaries, and what's motivating the adversaries of York to want to blaspheme and go against the Creator. So I'm gonna play this video, and I want everybody to enjoy it, and we'll dialogue about it afterwards.
Little journey, historical journey. 83rd chapter of Psalms, verses 1 through 5. So we find historically that someone tampered with our history, because as we all know, history controls destiny. So someone went back and tampered with our history so that we would have what I would refer to as a mistaken identity, that we would lose our identity. And as we would go back across the pages of history, that we would be lost. We would never find ourselves. That was very significant that that individual, whomever tampered with our history, they knew the significance of us being reunited with our identity, So we were victims in the early years, of lost identity. We want to go to the book of Psalms, the 83rd chapter, verses 1 through 5, to connect that up, please.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
For lo, thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hate thee have lifted up their heads.
Very high point. Someone that hates the Creator. Why would you hate Yah Yisrael? Who is this that hates the Creator? Why do they hate him? Because if you don't understand the ultimate target and where we fit into this, you will miss it in the 11th year of the marriage round. So in former times, this shone through nations of people. But in our generation, it shows through by way of religion. Says, in those that hate thee. But Yah Yisrael has promised. Perfect health. No infirmities. No diseases. Said if you're obedient to him, if you like him, the storehouse of heaven will be opened up for you. Eternal joy, everlasting life. How could someone hate the Creator? Why would they hate him? There's a reason. Why would they hate the Creator? And those that hate thee have lifted up their heads.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
And they now, and in order to effect this, says they have taken crafty counsel. They hate the Creator, but they took crafty counsel against you because you were significant in this. Says, and they took crafty counsel against you.
And consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation.
The identity, destroy their identity, so that they will never find their way back, because the identity will be the first step and it will be critical. So they went back and tampered with our history, and we became the people that nobody knew where we came from. Who are we? I mean, we had no land of origin. I mean, how did we get there? Why were we there? No history to relate to. They had tampered with our history. Says, and let us cut them off from being a nation. Let us destroy their identity. But the objective has to do with Yah Yisrael. They hate him. They hate the Creator. You can't even conceptualize someone hating the Creator. Why would they hate him?
That the name of Israel be no more in remembrance.
That identity would be destroyed forever. No one, they would never find their way back. And they had laid out the perfect plan so that we would never find our way back. Never, cut off forever. Because truth is absolute. If we never find our way back, then something else would prolong its days. These things, that these prophetic words, these prophecies are absolute. And they don't change just because you cry or you laugh. They are absolute. You must make it fit. It has to fit. So now we find two significant players. We find his people, and we find Yah Yisrael. They hate the Creator, and they have to take crafty counsel to destroy your identity. Something about it as to why. Why would they have to destroy our identity?
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate. They have united against the Creator. They have united against the Creator. Why? Why would they have to tamper with our identity? Why would they have to cut us off from being a people? Isaiah 49th chapter and the 3rd verse. Little brief overview so that we can understand Yom Kippur in the ascension realm. Yom Kippur in the ascension realm. So we go to the words of Isaiah the prophet in the 49th chapter and the 3rd verse.
And said unto me,
Thou
art my servant,
Thou
Israel.
art my servant. Cut off the name of Israel. Says, Thou art my servant, O Israel.
In whom I will be glorified.
In whom what?
In whom I will be glorified.
In whom I will be glorified. They're after Yah, but they have to cut us off because his glory has to come through us. His glory has to come through us, through whom he would be glorified. The glory of Yah would come through his people. So now we begin to see the connection. They hate the Creator. And in order to prevent his glory from him ever being glorified, they had to tamper with us. Because him being glorified could only come initially through us. Cut them off from being a people that the name never again be remembered. And if our name is cut off perpetually, his glory is cut off perpetually. Because truth does not yield. This is the way the plan was laid out. It is set, Zavda. If they tamper with our identity, if they cut us off, they are cutting off. The objective is the Creator. They are cutting off his glory. And as a result of that, begin to connect these things up to get a better understanding of our calling, where we are in the 11th year of the marriage realm. This is my servant. And then into the 6th verse, same chapter. And how does this affect others?
And he said, it is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant,
It is a light thing that thou shouldest be my servant,
to raise up the tribes of Jacob, and to restore the preserved of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the Gentiles.
I will also. So everything depends upon you.
Okay.
And I will also give you for a light the blessings, remember, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. So all of that, once they tampered with your history, the nations could not be blessed and y'all could not be glorified. And whoever the beneficiary was of that predicament, that was in somebody's best interest. That was in somebody's best interest. So, says, and I've also given you, not only for his glory to come through you, but the light unto the nations for them to find their way out of darkness was also to come through you. So it was critical that the name of Israel would be cut off, no more in remembrance. Light unto the nations, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Be blessed. So the blessings were cut off. The glory was cut off. The blessings were cut off.